You're listening to Systemic Era Podcast. The failure was designed.
What Martyr doesn't know about American history as historians demolish Trump report, based on an article by Matthew Rars. Trump's Religious Liberty Commission is not defending liberty. It is rebranding power. The story in brief. Trump's Religious Liberty Commission has put out a draft report on American religious history that experts say mangles basic facts. The report argues the founders wanted religion saturated through public life and treats the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and Declaration as explicitly religious documents. Historians and religion scholars quoted by Fox push back. The First Amendment was a practical settlement among rival colonies and churches, not a mandate for Christian dominance. Who actually has power? This is not a fringe pamphlet floating outside the state. It is a Trump administration commission using federal authority to launder a political project through historical language.
That matters.
Power is not held by the historians correcting the record. It is held by the administration that can turn distorted theology into policy pressure, legal signaling, and institutional permission. The point is not scholarship. The point is leverage. If you can redefine religious liberty to mean state preference for one kind of Christianity, then every future conflict over schools, courts, military policy, and public funding can be framed as oppression when it is really equality. What the Commission is selling. The report's core trick is selective memory. It cherry-picks moments like Franklin's request for prayer at an early Continental Convention and erases the larger fact pattern. The founders were divided. Compromise was necessary, and the First Amendment was designed to prevent establishment of religion. That is the historical reality the Commission wants to bury. It prefers a fantasy in which the founders speak with one voice, and that voice just happens to sound like modern Christian nationalist litigation strategy. Dave Campbell is right to call this out as a misnomer. There was no single founder consensus except on one crucial point: no established religion. The real agenda. The report does not describe religious freedom. It describes hierarchy. Matthew Sutton points to the pattern plainly: school prayer cases, Christian charter school funding fights, Ten Commandments displays, and court decisions that have become more receptive to this agenda. That is the operational meaning of the Commission's language. It is a coordinated effort by lawyers, religious organizations, and sympathetic judges to restore Protestant advantage under the banner of neutrality. This is where the misdirection becomes obvious. The administration does not say it wants Christian privilege. It says it wants liberty. It does not say it wants state-backed religion. It says secularism is the distortion. That inversion is the whole game. The coalition behind the mass. The second Trump presidency has given the religious right what it wanted: a president who despises rules, norms, and the boundary between church and state. Pax's reporting shows the alliance clearly, from defense officials framing war as divinely guided to pastors building golden statues of Trump and treating him like a sacred object. This is not a confused piety problem. It is a political coalition using religious language to sanctify executive power. When the vice president lectures the Pope, when conservative media orbit Trump as if he were a theological event, when ministers half retreat from idolatry while continuing the performance, the message is not faith. It is submission. Trump's movement does not actually respect Christianity. It exploits it. It flatters the religious right just enough to keep it useful, then folds it into a broader cult of loyalty. The pattern is older than the report. The Commission's false history is not an isolated mistake. It is the same authoritarian habit seen across the Trump project. Redefine reality, claim victimhood, and use institutional force to install the preferred narrative. The strategy works because it turns domination into grievance and exclusion into principle. That is why these fights matter. Once the state starts treating one religion as the natural owner of public life, every other faith, and no faith at all, becomes a tolerated afterthought. The target is not only secularism, it is pluralism itself. Conclusion: liberty for whom? The report reveals what Trumpism keeps trying to do in different forms: seize a democratic institution, drain it of actual neutrality, and make it serve a hierarchy that cannot justify itself honestly. Here the disguise is religion, but the mechanism is familiar. First the language is corrupted, then the lore follows. A government that claims religious liberty while engineering Christian preference is not defending freedom. It is building a clerical politics with federal paperwork. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to AlterNet for today's article. With the automated voice of Isaac, thanks for listening.